Welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm Egan from Caravan Digital. We're a digital marketing agency for e-commerce companies. We focus on paid search, paid social, and email marketing. And today, I'm beyond excited to have Shanif Dhanani, who is here from his app, Apteo. Shanif, thanks so much for joining. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Egan, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So good, quick, nuts and bolts of me. My background is from software and AI, and Apteo, my company, helps e-commerce brands personalize their marketing by predicting what their customers are going to buy next, segmenting them, and then helping them send messages based on those predictions.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm excited to ask you about a number of things here. I kind of want to talk about user privacy. There's been a lot of talk around that recently, a lot of changes, obviously, with the iOS 14 and 15 updates. Tell us a little bit about those privacy updates and how you think about those and how you talk with customers or clients about that.
Yeah, this, for those of you who probably haven't heard, these privacy updates have really affected e-commerce marketers. Back before 2020 or 2021, you were able to run ads on Facebook and really profitably acquire new customers. And now with iOS's updates, where they're sort of blocking Facebook from accessing some of the data that it needs to run good campaigns, you've suddenly seen your return on ad spend, your ROAS, go way down. And so this has become a problem for pretty much every marketer that I've been working with, if not every marketer across the ecosystem. And there are ways to solve it. This is why our company sort of has existed and is sort of accelerating. There are ways to solve it using things like your own data. It's called, you may have heard the term zero party or first party data. I like the term customer data. You can start to use what you already know about your customers to sort of compensate for what you can no longer do on Facebook. And you can do this both on Facebook using more precise audiences and off Facebook with email, SMS, and different sorts of targeting. Now, happy to jump into the details. If you want to talk about those, Egan, you let me know.
Yeah, I'm curious about also Google's piece, talking about removing third-party cookies there. Yeah. And tell us a little more about the zero or first-party cookies. Of how do those work and how is that different than the third-party cookies?
Yeah, so, for those of you who may not know how it works, what Chrome does, there's a thing called third-party cookies. And what that lets a website do is place a little bit of code on a totally different website. And what that code does, it lets the first website track you, lets you see what websites that you're visiting. And this works really well. Having that information works really well for figuring out what you like, who you are, what you're going to buy next. And you can imagine how valuable this would be when you're setting up an ad campaign. Now, I believe next year, Google will be removing the ability for websites to do this. So they'll be removing these third-party cookies where, for example, Facebook can no longer put a cookie on a third-party website and know that you went to that website. And what this means is marketers are kind of hit with a 1-2 punch. On the one hand, they've lost the iOS privacy. They've had to deal with iOS privacy updates, which has reduced their ability to show ads. On the second hand, they're now losing the ability to track customers across the web. And so when you think about how you as a marketer can start to adjust to this new reality, what you're really going to focus on is, what do you know already about your own customers? How can you collect more information about that? And how do you use that information to better market to your customers? So there's this whole concept of customer data, which is kind of composed of a couple of key sources. Zero party data, which is essentially what customers are doing. And so what are they doing on your site? What have you observed about them? And first party data, which is what are customers giving you? They've given you maybe their email address to sign up for a 10% discount, 20% discount. Or maybe they've given you their address, zip code, city, state, whatever it is when they're making a purchase. These are all things that you as a marketer can now start to leverage to make better marketing campaigns. Now, of course, you have to respect users' privacy when it comes to this. Users can opt out of marketing. They can say, hey, look, I don't like your terms and services. But these are the best ways for you now as a marketer to run more effective marketing campaigns in a world where user privacy has become front and center.
Pretty interesting, pretty interesting. And I know you guys work on increasing retention as well. And so how does that fit in terms of knowing more about our customers, getting that customer data, and then retaining them? And ultimately, I think, growing repeat purchases and customer lifetime value, right?
It's a good point. Especially now where acquiring new customers is going to get harder. You have to drive more purchases from your existing customers. But obviously, that's easier said than done, right? How do you do that? Well, if you think about brands today, what they're doing is they're marketing to you across a few different channels. Maybe they have an email marketing campaign tool that sends you emails or SMS. Sometimes they might show up on TikTok or whatever it is. Brands are spending money to send you marketing campaigns. They have to pay for their email accounts. They pay for the SMS messages that they send you. And so you as a brand have a cost every time you try to reach out to a customer. And me as a customer, I don't necessarily want to see an email or an SMS from a brand that has nothing to do with me. Maybe I bought something from the brand at one point and they've got a product I'll like, but I don't, necessarily care about most of their products. So you as a brand now have to get super precise and targeted about how you send messaging to customers. You have to personalize your messaging. Now, how do you do that? You got to use your customer data. Now, a lot of brands might struggle to take their data. Maybe they have this data, but maybe they don't know how to best use it. This is kind of where we come in. So we say, look, all of this data can help you sort of understand what each individual customer wants. What are they trying to do? What do they like? What do they not like? What products are they likely to buy next? Are they even likely to come back unless you give them a big offer or a discount? We figure out all this stuff for you, group these customers together based on similarity. And then we let you send this information to your existing tools, your marketing tools, your SMS tools. Now you as a brand can say, okay, customer who's at risk, who won't come back, here's a 20% discount code. I would not send this to my active customers, but you get it. So active customers, maybe a customer who's likely to buy, red dress, you get a promotion or an email that says, hey, look, we have new red dresses in stock, or we have this particular brand and style. It's only going to be available for 10 days. Come and get it now. So you don't offer them a discount or a small discount maybe, but you already know that they're going to buy this dress. So what does this happen? What does this result in? Well, if you're applying this to email, your open rates and click-through rates go up and your conversion rates go up. And if you're applying the same sort of strategies to paid social or paid search, the efficacy of your campaigns goes up. You're spending less money or the same amount of money to make more sales.
Yeah, makes sense. And I know you guys kind of focus on too, if this is a chance to do some brand storytelling, provide some content, what types of content do you see customers providing or clients providing where it's, this isn't just a sale message. This is telling us about the brand story or even just educating the customers.
Maintaining a good relationship with your customers is going to be key actually to this world where privacy is going to be front and center. So what does that mean? Like maybe you are a small brand and you have a great story. Maybe you've designed your clothes for new moms, or you are doing something to help the world, or you're doing donations. These are all things that today we as consumers really want to hear because we've been so inundated with corporate speak and sales messaging. Telling a story about who you are should be kind of front and center among some of the flows, the email flows that you've got set up. So everybody's got their win back, their cart abandon flow. Everybody's got their welcome flow. But if you've got a story for your brand, you should be dripping this content out over the course of the first 4 weeks of maybe a customer's interaction with you. That should just exist. And then based on how customers are responding to that or coming to your website or not coming to your website, you can then target different campaigns to these customers. And so content becomes a way for you to develop an emotional brand, emotional sort of connection with your customers. And then once you've got that emotional connection, you basically double down on that with products that people are going to buy once you sort of warm them up, products that they care about, offers that they care about. So for example, if they like bundles, send them a bundle with a 5% discount code or 10%. So the idea is build up a relationship with them, get them to know who you are. And then once you've got that, sell to them. It's a very sort of straightforward approach, but it's not always easy to do. But that's kind of how we think about content and marketing today, especially with data.
And I know you guys deal in artificial intelligence. You're an AI company. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. We're AI first and data first company.
Okay. Now, you and I were talking before this a little bit, and I was kind of saying, I think the association for business owners, for e-commerce brand owners, and for agencies like us is, AI is something the big guys do. But as you were kind of saying, you don't necessarily have to be massive to benefit from AI with what you're talking about. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The AI has become such a a buzzword, almost a loaded word today, where it means everything and nothing at the same time. And generally, when you're hearing about AI, you're hearing about how Google and Facebook are using it, or Microsoft. In reality, maybe these guys are using AI to do some really, really crazy, intense things, like figuring out how to drive a car, or figuring out sort of the best way to cool their heating centers. But that's not what you need as a brand owner. What you need is a branch of AI that's known as predictive analytics. You're trying to forecast or predict what your customers are going to do. And when you've already got a bunch of data to do that, data from your store, from your historical orders about your customers, what they're doing with email, all of a sudden, you actually don't need a ton of data to make use of it all. In general, we like to say our brands, most of our brands will work with our system if they have a minimum of 1,000 orders, which is, you could, if you're a quick growing brand, you might accomplish that in a few months or a year. And with 1,000 orders, even maybe a little bit less, you're now able to forecast what a new customer is likely to do, or what an existing customer is likely to do. Obviously, with AI, the more data you have, the better off you're going to be. But today, you have all of these AI-powered tools like Apteo, like other tools, that will work with your brand. And really, what we're all trying to do is sort of bring these tools that the large companies have used for a long time over to the e-commerce world, where maybe smaller and mid-sized businesses exist. So not to say that large companies aren't using AI. The type of AI work I did when I worked at Twitter is very different than what I'm doing today. But the concept of using data to drive predictions and drive forecasts and basically make informed decisions is now available to small and mid-sized businesses.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. And I did not ask you about that background at Twitter. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was a couple years ago. It's been a couple years since I worked there, but I basically joined Twitter after they acquired my first startup, Tap Commerce. I joined their ads team. At the time, I was working on, they have this ad system that basically tries to predict which customers are likely to click on an ad, and which ad if you show that in your tweet stream. And so they had this really, really intense, system that was dealing with millions of data points every second, quadrillions of data points a day. But it used a lot of the same techniques that we're using. It basically said, what do we know about this person at this time? What have they done in the past? And what have we learned about that? And then how can we apply that to this person going forward? Same thing that we do today. What do we know about a customer? What have they purchased in the past? And how do we predict what they're going to do based on that? So at Twitter, we had worked, I worked a little bit on their ads prediction systems. I then did a little bit of data science work on their moments team, moved to the onboarding team. So trying to understand how people are going through their onboarding flow, where they're dropping off, where they're engaging. And a lot of my time there was basically using data to optimize their products, predict what people are going to do, and then use those predictions to make a better product for our users.
Pretty interesting. I'm so excited to have you on, because we've never had someone who's been on that side in terms of, you've done the analytics piece of it. You've had a company doing that. You've been even on the, social media giant side as well. And now you're sort of developing this tool that also, brands of all sizes can use for basically their own customer data. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. And I've learned a lot. I've been very fortunate. And what's interesting is, one of the main things I've learned is, no matter what technology you're using, good customer service goes such a long way. And so at Apteo, our core is data. We're an AI and data company. But when I'm onboarding a new customer, I work really hard to make sure that they get the full value. We give them a long free trial. I sort of hold their hand. And I just think that that's the right way to do things for people, especially people in a world where e-commerce is causing harder and harder ROAS, and it's just becoming harder and harder. But I go off topic. So yeah, Egan, that's exactly right. So I've kind of seen a couple of different sides of the world here.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to hear that you guys were dealing in, a quadrillion data points, and now you're talking about 1,000 orders is enough. So it's not just a big data thing. It's like brands can be leveraging AI much sooner, it sounds like, with a tool like yours.
They can. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited to start this company. It's because I believe that data can help make really good business decisions. But when I was kind of coming up in my career in my early days, not a lot of people were doing data-driven decisions. They were doing a lot of gut feel. They were doing maybe research and analysis, but it wasn't systematic. And so I have always sort of done that sort of work, and I've sort of appreciated it. And I think that it can be applied to businesses of all size. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this company and start this company was to help businesses of all sizes better use their data. Now we're in a world where you do have all sorts of apps and tools and services that are powered by AI on the back end that are helping these businesses do better things, be more efficient, be more profitable. Apteo is one of them, but there's a whole bunch. And I just think now it's kind of the heyday where businesses are really, really starting to get up and running with AI tools across their operational ecosystem. And I think it's just going to increase from here.
Yeah, fascinating. So just for context for you, a lot of our viewers and listeners, in terms of the tools they use, for their websites, are often on Shopify, sometimes WordPress, WooCommerce, in other cases, Magento or BigCommerce. That's kind of, their CMS, their shopping carts. And then for maybe email and text, they're looking at, Klaviyo and PostScript and sort of tools like that. Tell us a little bit of, where does Apteo fit in here, and give us a sense of, who is this a good fit for? And, how does it integrate with the other tools?
Yeah, I'll try to give a visualization, and it's going to sound really cliche, but think of a Venn diagram where you've got your e-commerce tools like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce as one big circle. And then you've got your email marketing and SMS marketing tools as another big circle that intersect. And then you've got your paid social tools like Facebook, Google, whatever it is, as a third tool. Put them all together, Apteo sits in the middle. So what that means is we basically pull down data from all of these systems, we analyze it all, and then we push it back out to these systems. So as soon as our system sort of understands what your customers are likely to do by pulling in all this information, we'll write this information back out, for example, your Klaviyo account, and we'll produce information on each of your customer profiles that says, look, this customer is going to buy these 5 products. We'll create segments on your PostScript account. We'll help you understand what to do in Shopify. And so we basically like to connect all of the tools that people are using, specifically when it comes to sort of personalized marketing. We sit in the middle of all those. And if you don't see an integration on Apteo that you want, we are pretty quick to build it. Sometimes we can roll out an integration in 4 or 5 days. And so we welcome sort of feedback from customers. I just came across a new sort of software e-commerce platform, I think called Ecwid, where a couple of folks have started to ask about it, and it's something that we can plug into. So you can think of us as a tool that a marketer will use to optimize all of their work across all of their systems for creating good campaigns.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked that. I'm glad you told us that, because I was sort of thinking, when we're talking about text message and email, are you guys a competitor with Klaviyo? But what you're saying is you can help clients use Klaviyo even better.
Yeah, I'd say 90% of our customers used Klaviyo before they even heard of us. Then they plugged us in, and they're able to use Klaviyo more efficiently now. And we're able to send better emails and better SMSs on Klaviyo because we're able to supplement what Klaviyo does, sort of new AI-powered functionality.
That's amazing. Can you tell us more about the results on that? Or if I give you a minute, would you be able to kind of show us something around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's how we generally like to talk about how our AI can help. On the Klaviyo side, let's take email and SMS, for example. We generally see that when you start to use Apteo to personalize your messages, you drive more sales. What does that mean? So your open rates maybe go from 30%, 40% to 50 or 60. And then your click-through rates maybe go from a couple of percentage points up to like maybe 8, 9, 10% for some campaigns. We've seen some campaigns drive like 40 or 50% click-through rates. And then that naturally translates to higher conversions. And on the email side, this is all happening because you as a consumer who's now receiving maybe 100 emails a day, see something that is relevant to you as opposed to a generic product blast or a generic sale. And so you're more likely to open it. And so when you apply this methodology across thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers, on aggregate, these higher open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates will lead to more sales. Similarly, if you're on Facebook, for example, or Instagram, if you see an ad for a product that you're likely to buy, or that's even you're kind of thinking about wanting to buy, you're more likely to click on that ad than if you see an ad for a product that doesn't apply to you. And so by taking these data points about what we know about each customer and what they're likely to do next, and putting them into these campaigns, you're starting to see, for example, on Klaviyo, conversion rates go up to 10 or 11%. Apteo sometimes can drive, sometimes for many of our clients, the revenue that's attributable to email we're making up like 40, 50, or 60% of that email attributable revenue. For paid social, a lot of times we've taken brands from having a ROAS less than 1 to a ROAS higher than 1. Or if you're already doing well, ROAS to 2 or 3x, if it was barely profitable. So when you think about these metrics that marketers are always looking at, obviously you've got sales, but outside of that, you've got all of these metrics that help you understand the efficiency of your campaigns. We're generally getting these campaigns to a point where they're either profitable or they drive incremental sales in some way, shape or form.
Very interesting. So it sounds like AI-driven personalization, targeting, optimization for multiple channels for brand owners. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm not going to add anything onto that because that was a really good way to say it.
Now, Shanif, I wanted to have you back to show us the inside of Apteo and what it could do. Do you mind pulling it up and sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll walk you through first. I've zoomed in here.